It is a cosmic tug-of-war between three players: the sun, the moon, and the oceans on planet Earth. The result? Tides.
At a full moon, when the moon is here, the Earth is here, and the sun is over here, you've got them all lined up, but the sun is pulling this direction and the moon's pulling this direction. They're not quite lined up. Still get a nice big high tide, but the new moon is when the moon is between the Earth and the sun, and you've got all that gravitational pull lined up on one side. We don't see the moon, but it exerts the most pressure then, the most gravitational pull and that pressure that I spoke about that pushes that water out. So we get a big bulge. Now, that should happen every month, right? That's called a spring tide. The neap tides are when the moon and the sun are at right angles with the Earth, and it kind of cancels each other out. You still get tides, but not so dramatic. Now, once or twice a year, the moon is really close to the Earth in its orbit around the Earth, and the Earth is really close to the sun in its orbit around the sun. And when those ingredients line up with a new moon or a full moon, boy, the gravitational pull and that gravitational caused pressure is really extraordinary because we're closer. And so we get really extreme tides.
King tides, a non-scientific term for perigee spring tides, can be monsters. The most extreme king tide is in the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia, rising more than 55 feet. The highest tides in the United States are in Anchorage, Alaska, ranging up to 40 feet. These are not specifically called king tides, however, due to unique conditions of climate, geography, and timing. While here in Big Break Visitor Center in East Contra Costa County, the range is around 5.5 feet.
There's the flood. It's coming.
You can see it right here. King tide measurements are not just about how high the tide is. The actual measurement is between the lowest and highest points of the tide, which are about 6 hours apart. And these measurements impact communities in a wide variety of ways.
If nothing else, it's just fascinating to think that the water level right in our backyard here at Big Break can swing 5 feet, 5.5 feet in 6 hours, say a foot an hour. And that's just fun to watch. So that in itself is just fun to watch. It's just a phenomenon. Now, what does that do as far as navigation goes? What does that do as far as flooding goes? Recreation? What happens to the soil? What about if you're in charge of taking in fresh water to be distributed to the public? Where is that fresh water going to be? What's going to be the quality of that water? Is there a big bunch of salt water coming up? And that tidal push is so strong that it's actually going beyond the capacity of fresh water to keep it out? Or is the fresh water just going to hit that salt water right up on top? So there are a lot of practical applications, but for us, it's just a fascinating thing to see. And what's great about it is that it's so accessible here. You just walk down a quarter mile from the visitor center from your car, and you're seeing this worldwide phenomenon happening right in your backyard.
King tides in the Delta occur January and February each year. The first king tide event, sponsored by the California Coastal Commission, took place the weekend of January 10, 11, and 12. The next event will be from Friday, February 7th through Sunday, February 9th. Big Break Visitor Center will be offering a family-friendly program on Saturday the 8th from 1:30 till 3 p.m. For a complete listing of all king tide events across the state, go to the California Coastal Commission's website, King Tides.